start on the weekends.
Some of my other friends, they still go almost every other day.
Right.
I'll probably do like big solo.
All right, guys, we're ready to fire up.
Are you on Facebook? Not posted up on Facebook.
So ready to go?
Yeah, we're ready to roll. It's big bass time.
Tune in for this one.
All right, so it's a very, very focused topic, okay? How many people have never caught a bass? Raise your hand. So everybody's caught a bass? You caught too many bass. You brought it around. But how many people have caught a bass? Let's start with that. A bass. Any size. Greater than 12 inches.
Okay.
Greater than 18 inches. Greater than 20 inches. Greater than 21. 22. 23. 24. So we've got 4 people that caught a fish.
It's a 9.5 pound bass length. That's fine. I don't know how long that is, but
Might count.
25.
So that's the target size we're going for. Okay? And I'm going to cover that. That's the mentality you got to have. Where to kind of find them, because every lake's going to be different. Danny already touched upon that earlier. But this is me the last 2 years, okay? I've only been bass fishing for 2 years. I haven't, before that it was all stripers, as Joel mentioned. Stripers, white bass, hybrids, that was life, you know? But the last 2 years, it was bass, and tournament bass fishing. And in tournament bass fishing, you have to catch fish that are better than the next guy next to you, right? So you got bigger. And the first year, I'll say it, I skunked out on most of the tournaments. But the last year, I've kind of put things together, 1 and 2, and I've always been in the top 10. I've never won one until the championship, but up until that point, I've always been in the top 10. So this is what I'm going to be covering. This is kind of some of the accomplishments I've done in the last 2 years. I'm actually still the reigning champion in Oklahoma, so I'm going to try to defend that this year. Second place in Angler of the Year. I've traveled outside the states and I've done well, kind of using this mentality. Because when you go out of state, you have to try to win. There is no second place. So once again, that falls back into trying to catch the biggest bass in the lake. Because if you go out of state, you're aiming for second place, don't even go. That's the mentality you gotta have, okay? That's big bass mentality. And these are the bottom 2, the Toad Fest and the Dog Days. I placed second place in both of those. He won one of them, and there's another guy that's not here who won the other one. I came in second, so I'm pretty consistent on this. That's probably why they chose me to come and present this topic. So a couple of things I want to go over quickly. The gear, specifically this one. This is the one I won the most money on. Exact same rod, line, crankbait. The 24-inch came off this exact same setup, Kanawa, last year. So if you guys want to see it, it's sitting right here. Okay? 7 foot. 7'11". 7'11".
Medium heavy?
Heavy. Heavy cranking rod. 12-pound line, Sunline fluorocarbon. Don't skip out on your equipment, because when you're dealing with big bass, a lot of people I talk to, they'll say, oh, I had a monster on it, I never saw it. Or I saw it jump, came off. If it's not on your bum board, it's not official, right? Tournament world, that's the mentality you gotta have, okay? I do a lot of offshore cranking, a lot of offshore cranking. Here's the other one that I always depend on. Dog Days of Summer when it's hot. 12-inch worm, 7/0 hook, 7/9, extra heavy. Some people call this a flipping rod, but I use it for a worm. Okay? Because when you're trying to get a 10-pound bass out of a brush pile, out of whatever, chunk rock, you want to hit him hard and you stun him for 2 seconds at the most. You want to get him away from where he's comfortable. You want to get him into your comfort zone. all right? And with that comfort zone is gonna be in open water, where he can't get you to hang up on him. If you can get him that far in the first 2 seconds, you have a 99% chance of landing that fish, okay? Because if he turns around and goes back in, flip of a coin, 50-50, okay? So get that mentality going when you're trying to chase big bass. The other thing is, you're gonna skunk out most of the time when you're chasing these quality size fish. It's just the nature of it. You're eliminating the 12 inchers, you're eliminating the 20s, you're eliminating the 19s. And I don't know how many of you guys have talked to last year when we were fishing some of these online tournaments, but I've told you, some of these guys, if it ain't over 20 inches, I'm not posting it up. I've caught hundreds of 19s before I get a 21, right? That's the mentality you have to go with. And we're trying to win. We're not trying to come in second place here. That's the mentality you gotta have.
I'm gonna try and catch anything.
That's what I said. It's a very, very focused topic, okay?
For Angler of the Year points, I messed up on dog days last year, and I went fishing with Danny on his honey lake when it was warm out, and I caught a 19-inch fish and I didn't post it, and I forgot. So then I would have like 80-something inches when I would have had 100 because I forgot to post the fish. So for Angler of the Year points, you still want to throw those up.
Angler of the Year, that's a different story. Okay, we can talk about that too. Okay? That's a whole different story.
Also, if you don't post those smaller fish, it counts against everybody else in Oklahoma if you're doing KBF tournaments because they figured on average size of the fish.
That's
So
what
it kind of screws us over by not
you're trying to catch big fish. That's what we gotta stay on. I
Especially
can
when
talk
it
about
comes
that
down to
too.
fishing against people
But-
in Florida.
That's true. I've already fallen into that trap already. But this is a 19 and a quarter.
That's why you'll see me posting 12-inch fish.
Right? But every time I catch anything less than 20, oh, that's so cute. Right? It's wasting my time. You know, you gotta get that in your mind. Okay. That's what we're talking about. When you see a fish like that, get the shivers, you know, the butterflies.
That was the Craig Roadrunner last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was dog days last year. Yeah.
Definitely not Craig.
See, once it goes over 20, I'm interested, right? If it's under 20, it's like, let the other guy have it. I don't want to deal with it. That's the personal best that was caught on that line, okay? I'm actually getting it duplicated. I'm trying to get it framed up, but timing was off. The guy couldn't do it quick enough. But that's the 24, that's the personal best. Like I said, it came out of Congo. I hope it's still swimming. I let it go. That's the Texas personal best. That's from Lake Fort last year. 12-inch work. Okay. So we'll quickly again through this, but you know, not everybody can afford the highest, best gear, but get what you can and beef it up. You know, you can always go to a different brand. Don't be so brand specific. You look at that, that's 3 different brands, 4 different brands, 5 different brands. You know, do what works for you. I've caught so many giant stripers before in my past on 6-pound line, ugly sticks with the reel that came with the rod for like 30 bucks. Okay, so it's all on how you handle the situation. But please don't go cheap on your line. Get the best line you can get your hands on that you feel is justifiable. Okay, for me, I run the top quality lines, whether that's on bluegills or whether that's on bass. Because I hate it when your line fails you. And more than likely, 80% of the time, if you look at the reason why a fish got away, especially the big fish, it's always your line's breaking. So you want to minimize errors. If you look at professional baseball players, they have error stats, right? You want to keep that error down to a minimum. That way your success goes up, okay? It's somewhat specialty equipment because you're pretty much going to overhaul everything and make it extra tough. You're trying to go after a giant fish here. We're not chasing 2-pounders. Sharp hooks is number 1. Maybe Danny can explain that later, but the bigger the fish, to me, it feels like the bigger, the tougher the snouts are. So you got to get the brand name hooks that you believe in. Pick a brand you like. You gotta have that hook. You gotta have the rod to penetrate or to swing as hard as you can. You gotta penetrate the skin, the nose, whatever you gotta do. And then you just gotta keep pressure on them. And that's half the battle, is getting a hook through with these fish. Because a lot of times I've heard people say, oh, I stuck him with my extra thick wire hook, jig hook, and then it jumps. It's not even a great jump. It just came up and it moved a little bit, and my jig starts flying away. Your equipment's not balanced. So you want to get all that dialed in. Because you want to do that at home. When you get to the water, that stuff should not be in question. You should have 100% confidence in what you have at the house before you go out there. Okay? So that's a major thing to have learned. So where do big bass live? Danny kind of touched upon it. Now, I didn't talk to Danny before I made this. This is just based off my experience, okay? Most of your big bass will be offshore. Offshore meaning deeper than 5 feet, to me. Okay, that 24-inch, that was caught in 10 to 15 feet. Pretty small. Okay, so focus your attention offshore. That's key, because I know a lot of people don't do it. Probably 90% of the people don't do it. So it's offshore, or if you're going to be on a bank, you got to look at the thickest, whatever nastiest that's on the bank. The nastiest laydown. The nastiest clump of lily pads. The nastiest fill in the blank. More than likely, if there's a big bass in that area, they'll be right there. And it's a game of stats too. Okay? So if you go down a bank, say 100-yard bank, there's one clump of lily pads. 100 yards down, there's one clump of lily pads where you're at. You don't fish the entire shoreline. You fish the lily pads, you make the run, you fish that pad, you go to the next target, the next target, the next target. You waste a lot of time if you're fishing in between. So you want to optimize your time. Okay? That also applies to tournament fishing as well. Usually you won't see me fishing just a bare bank. I always make the run to the next best looking target. So the next thing is before you go out, kind of do like a Google map study of what you're fishing. You can kind of pick out the points, the laydowns you might want to go check out, but definitely pick 4 to 7 spots, especially if you're just targeting big bass. You're not worried about the tournament world. Your goal that day is one fish or nothing, right? Especially in dog days, you have a lot of chances to skunk out or be a hero at the end of the day. So if you go out one day, you catch one 22-incher, you're in contention to win. Okay? If you catch a 19, you're not. Right? That's the mentality you gotta go with. If you look at these two rods and reel setup, right? One's a crankbait and one's a worm. When it comes to big bass, the real big bass, from what I've seen, there's really only 2 ways you can catch them. One, you piss the shit out of them, meaning you throw something in his area and it's not moving. It's just sitting there. It could come over and nose on it, it's still just sitting there. And then what's the only option it's got to do? He's got to pick it up, right? Right? Or 2, he's there, he doesn't care about what's coming through. He's not even hungry, he's not curious. But he's sitting there, you want to crankbait as fast as you can through it. This is kind of a luck thing too, because you have to run this crankbait by him like 3 or 4 times. Your idea is not because he's hungry he's going to hit your crankbait. You want to ram your crankbait into this fish. It's either he's going to get out of the way or he's going to choke it. That's it. Keep it that simple, right? No fancy, retrieves, nothing like that. Throw it out. Got it. That's it.
All day, every day.
Yeah, do it all day. You're not looking for the 12-incher. You're not looking for it, Okay, so what happens when the fish bites? This is where it swings very, very left and right again. It's 2 rod setups. One's on 12-pound line, one's on 20. Or if you're throwing a frog or something, 65-pound braid. Okay, I'll cover the 12-pound first. The 12 pound, when you hook up on a big fish, it's actually a good balance. Fish will pull a little bit, you gotta give a little bit. As soon as he gives you any sign of slowing down, you're back on. You're cranking him in, right? You're going. He pulls again. Okay, you gotta set the drags right? Make sure the line doesn't break. That comes with experience. You have to know exactly when that line's gonna break on new line. If it's old line, you should have changed it up before you went out, because you can't depend on old line that will snap at 8 pound instead of 12. Okay, because your line's programmed for 10 pounds. If it snaps at 8, that's your fault. That's not the fish won that day, right? So you know your equipment, you know exactly where the line's gonna break. That should be done at the house. The other setup is 20 pound fluoro. There is no drag. Drag's locked down. It don't slip. That fish cannot break 20. It just can't. It just can't. I've tried. I've had like the 19 inchers, the 20s. I just hold them at the kayak, seeing how hard they can pull and see if they'll break the line. Of course, it's off tournament hours, but I never do that during the tournament. But off tournaments, you can test your gear. It won't break 20. I've had snags and brush piles. Well, I've pulled on 20 and it about flipped my kayak over.
Yeah.
Okay.
I snagged that with 20.
Yeah, you can't break it. So when you set the hook on that, it's bam. There's no drag. Crank, 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 crank. Okay, where's the net? Get it. Done. In the boat. You can flop around a little bit. It don't matter. It's in the boat. Let them calm down. Take the hook off. Put them on the board. Take your picture. Let them go. That's the mentality you gotta have when you're fishing for the big bass. Now, that's all good, but you gotta spend a lot of time out there as well. This is a topic that one of my friends coined. He calls it the 14-hour shift. It's dark to dark. All right? So you gotta have that mindset too. You gotta be out there a lot of hours to even get the chance, to even get the bite. All right? If you're one of those guys that goes, you're from 6 to 9, or 2 to 3, whatever it might be, you're missing out a lot, because my biggest bass have come during the day when nobody's out there, where everything's really slow. People have come and gone. You're still sitting out there like an idiot. It's gonna happen. Okay, my experience, that's where my biggest bass have always come from. Is when no one's out there, everyone's already at the barbecue grilling, and you're still out there. That's when the big bite's gonna happen. And once again, one big bite per day. So you kind of have to judge it based on the lake, but some lakes have bigger bass than others, right? But Danny knows that. You want to fish in the lake that has bigger bass. That's a simple one. Okay, so where do you want to put all this stuff into play, right? A lot of times when we do our actual tournaments, what I just told you, do not do, because you're gonna skunk out. More than likely. I've already tried it, so just take my word for it. You're gonna skunk out. But we have 2 opportunities coming up, right? The online tournaments, the Toad Fest and Dog Days, which is in the summertime. If you do the math, right, how many opportunities do you have to catch 5? I mean, 5 giants. We're looking for giants. Oklahoma is very competitive. I'll give you some numbers, right? The numbers are there. 108 divided by 5 is 21 and a half. I took Danny's number. That's how I remember 108. Danny beat me. Right? 108. That's a 21 and a half inch average. So, remember we took that little poll in the beginning? How many people caught fish bigger than 21? Half the room. Okay? So if you want to be competitive, you have to get into this mindset. Right? Anyways, it's 2 months. That's 8 weekends. 8 weekends, if you do a weekend trip per weekend, that's 8 trips times 12 hours, you got 96 hours to work. 96 hours to catch 5. And that doesn't mean you stay on that lake. You check out that lake the first weekend, skunk out, you might want to go to another lake next weekend and kind of hop around. Because we don't have boundaries. The boundaries we have is the state of Oklahoma public water, right? So go to Danny's home creek, go to Skyton, you know, go to Grand. I mean, the possibilities are endless. But you know, I've caught fish out of lakes where the majority of the people you meet, they'll say no one's ever caught a fish bigger than 6 pounds in there. But I've caught 6 pounds, you know, 6 pounders. I've caught them before. But like I said, it's that mentality. It's very focused, and a lot of people want to like just say, this is how you do it. But I've presented a lot of different things, and this is one aspect of it, because you could go ask somebody else, and it could be completely different. It can be a complete 180. Somebody might say, you got to throw a little drop shot, you know, a 2-inch worm and 2 feet of water and just keep it there for 2 minutes and go to the next one, the next one. But that's just not me. I didn't grow up that way. The last 2 years wasn't based off that. It was based off of this. You know, a lot of time on the water. When you get things dialed in, you're in contention to win. It's just it's very addicting, which is probably bad. But you know, when you start catching the big fish, it seems like you don't want to catch anything else. You're willing to go on those 3-4 days, not even a bite, and then you get that one, and that's all that matters. And when you get a big one, please take a bunch of pictures of it and release it, because there's not a lot of them left. You know, that's the other thing too. There's not a lot of them left, and the enjoyment you get from it, when you get a bass that's literally pushing 10 pounds or greater. Because the 10 pounds, I don't know if you guys know, but that's kind of the holy grail in the world of fishing. When you get that 10 pounder, you gotta release them, just so the kid next door can come and catch it too. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. Q&A? Questions? Try to keep it simple.
What's up? I don't know if you're talking about gear ratio on each of those setups for your reels.
Yep.
You talk about burning the crank.
The crank, it's a deep diving setup. It's a little 6'2", but with a big hammer.
Yeah.
Big hammer.
Come on the reel, or did you buy it
It's aftermarket.
aftermarket? Right?
Because when you're throwing this, there's a lot of pull on the crankbait, and if you don't have the big handles, it's too much strain on your hands. You gotta get a big handle. It helps out. A lot of people will throw a 5-gear ratio, but I'm kind of built backwards. I'm right-handed, but I use left-handed reels.
It's normal. It's okay.
Is that normal? Yeah, but that's a 6-gear ratio. This is a 7.3, but I actually prefer an 8. So that's what I got. So that's equipment. Yep.
Okay. You throw them big lines, do you use a leader or do you just tie straight to your line?
If it's on a worm, it's just straight fluorocarbon. If it's deep, that's the only time I'll do a fluoro braid to fluoro. If I'm fishing deeper than 30 feet, which happens during every once in a while, I'll go to a brush pile deeper than 30 feet, right? The thing is, okay, it comes back to the equipment, right? You gotta have 100% confidence in your equipment before you attempt something. When you're fishing something that's 10 feet, give it 20. Anything less than 20, when you set on it, there's the stretch on the line, right? It gets to a point where the line is so long, when you pull as hard as you can, there's almost no force on this end, right? So if you're less than 20 feet, that's where I think it doesn't matter. You know, you don't have to tie the leader or the braid, but when you go beyond 20, the stretch is going to be too much. You can't penetrate the hook. So what I'll do is I'll tie on 20 feet of fluorocarbon, and then I'll go like a 30-pound braid. So that way you limit the stretch, because now you're so far down there. When you set, there is no stretch in the braid section. The stretch is in the fluorocarbon. All right? So you still get the same amount of stretch as if you were fishing 20 or 15 feet. Okay? That's a good question.
You ever find that your knots break? And I had used it last year at Broken Bow fluorocarbon, and did everything everybody ever said to do with it, and wet it before you tighten it
Okay.
down and all that.
That's a good question too, because
And it's,
my first 6 months of using fluorocarbon, or using any line in general, line manufacturers, I don't know what they do, but certain lines like certain knots. Okay? So, like, for example, this is the Sunline FC Sniper, right? I've gone through 7 or 8 different types of knots. The one I used to love with mono was just the basic uni or the Palomar. Don't do that on this line. It'll break at half the strength. Okay? Right now, everything is on the San Diego Jam knot. Just Google it. It's like a uni knot, but it's like reversed. Somehow it holds up. It holds up good.
It's which knot you're using on it?
San Diego Jam.
I'll have to look that up.
It's all over the internet. It's very popular, especially in the Elite Series guys and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
quick too, right? Once you're good at it.
Once you're good at
Yeah.
it. But for this topic, it doesn't matter. You want the knot perfect. Take the minute to do it. Take the minute. It doesn't matter if it's 5 seconds. You'll see it on the Elite Series, like it says, don't do this. It's done. What was that, like 3 seconds?
Yeah.
I take my time. Okay?
Got 2 months.
I got 2 months. I got none of my time. Okay? Tie it, cinch it down good. Look at it. Make sure there's no cracks, no frays. Make sure you're 100% that knot's gonna be good when you set the trigger, when you pull the trigger. If it's not, cut it off. Do it again.
You talked about big fish mentality. Could you touch over the regular tournament 5 fish mentality just real quick?
Okay, so 5 fish mentality, right? First thing I do, because I figured that out, because that's why last year I was always in the top 10. It's very dependent on the lake. My gear will reflect what the lake can possibly put out. Okay, so if we're going to Arbuckle, there it is right there. Right? If I'm going to Skytip, keep it at home. You're not going to catch that type of fish there. Plus Skytip, there's smallmouth. I actually favor the smallmouth on Skytip. Okay, so different species will change your approach. So you go out playing with your strengths in the tournament world, right? So if I go out to Skytip, I hope there's a topwater bite. Because coming from the striper world, that's all I knew for 4 years. I'm real good at it. And in my opinion, I'm the best one in the room at it. Okay? It kind of sounds cocky, but that's the mentality you gotta have during a tournament. Okay? So I go out, I'll have one topwater rigged up, because I know smallmouth, they just love that stuff. I'll have a jerkbait tied on. Who knows what a whopper plopper is? Okay, I'll give you guys a secret since you guys are here.
which one?
The whopper plopper?
130, 90?
90. 90 in the blue blood color. It's original color. Change the hooks out. Okay? The whopper plopper will float, right? But you want it to slow sink. So how are you going to do that? 2 extra split rings on both of them. Big size 4 in the front. Keep the size 5 in the back. When you throw it out, it's going to slow sink. But you don't want it to sink, so you're going to reel it, right? You're going to burn it, actually.
Does that keep it from spinning?
Huh?
Does that keep it from spinning too?
It's a lot better at it. Plus, now you got 2 split rings on it. The smallmouth smashes it, it starts jumping. It's got a lot more twist angle on the rings. It won't spin it.
So you put them, you actually fasten to each other?
Yeah,
Or just
so you have
different way?
the lower eye, you put one on it, you put another one on this one, and then you put that one back. The only downside is if you cast and you snap it, it's not going to go. It's going to sink. that's the only downside of that top water. But Texoma last year, when I came in 2nd place, every single fish was on that. Every single one. Top water. That was kind of my little secret until the whopper plopper became so popular.
I like that raised tail frog, but now they have that frog with the spinner tail on the back of it.
Yeah.
So it's taking away my favorite bite too.
Booyah's got a real good one coming out too. Oh, yeah.
So within an hour of here, what lake would you go to try to catch a big fish? Your best opportunity.
Is Colorado within an hour? To get yourself another 2 pounds. So colors for worms, it's either black and blue. I prefer all black if I can get it all black. Straight black, no flakes, nothing. Straight black. As black as this computer right here. Or you go to that. That color is called California 420. It's made by Zoom. It's got like black on one side, green pumpkin on one side. Covers everything, okay? Those are the two I do. That's it for worms. Crankbaits in the pre-spawn, I'll throw red exclusively. Red. Once it goes beyond that, and if you're still deep cranking, that's what that is set up for. Deep cranking, you want that chartreuse blue top. The most success I've had with chartreuse and blue top. For some reason, they can see it better. I don't know, when it's down deep. And the thing about the crankbaits is you have to replace the hooks. You have to. There's like no question. Take it out of the box, throw them away. Put some new ones on. Okay? Take your pick.
Do you put the same size back on? Or you...
Depends on the crankbait. On that one, it's upgraded. It's one size bigger. And this is going to get into a lot of crankbait stuff, but some crankbaits come with hooks that are properly sized, and some crankbaits come with hooks that were not part of the design. Meaning, the manufacturer wants you to switch them out. So they'll give you the cheapest hook they can get away with. Okay? That's one of them. Anything from Strike King, hooks are garbage. Toss them out. Okay? That's a Strike King 5XD. Okay? I go to a number 2 owner on that. Yeah.
What brand hook do you prefer?
Owner. Owner? The model is a Owner ST36. It's one of the more popular aftermarket hooks. But those hooks, I have 100% confidence in. When I hook a fish with those hooks, 98% land ratio. 98%. Other brands I've played with, 75, 80. You know?
So you just go up one size, or?
For that crankbait, I do. But there's other ones which I don't.
If you guys have any more questions for Colin, we'll hit you up afterwards. Gotta keep rolling.
Okay.
Now he's got a YouTube channel too, out of work.
I got really lucky. I caught 5 fish that was just the 5 fish that I needed. I mean, I got some more bites other than that, but I didn't get any others on the board. I just caught the 5 ones that I needed. Now, Beaver Bend, I know a lot of you, maybe some of you have been there, some of you may have not been there, but it's a beautiful fishery. It was my first time there. I went maybe the day before I think I arrived there. I fished a couple hours, maybe I caught 1 fish before, and I didn't really have a pattern together or anything like that. I just caught 1 fish and I was like, well, it is what it is. We'll see what tomorrow brings. And but it's a beautiful fishery, clear water, mostly rocks, and I mean the whole area there is beautiful. I stayed in the lodge and pretty much never left there the whole weekend. But basically, how I broke down that lake before I even arrived, you know, I was looking at it on Google Earth, and I was looking at Navionics, which a lot of people here would know about as well. But Google Earth, you can go just google.com and take a look at the Google Earth online version. But the best way to do it is actually download the version for your PC itself. You can, on there, go to the history of time, so like back to 2007 when we had a big drought and it was just crazy low. Well, then you can take a look at structure and points and all sorts of stuff that you can't even see nowadays, or that you wouldn't know was there with Navionics. Or the only way you'd know is if you were there when it was shallow. That's the only way. And so it's one thing that you use for any lake that you go to. It's handy. A lot of people use it. I know I do. I know Colin probably uses it. I know a lot of people use it. Navionics, we're getting ready to go to Kentucky Lake and up in Tennessee. Several of us Oklahoma guys for national championships, and I've never been there. I have no idea how I'm going to fish it and where I'm going to fish. So Navionics, Google Earth, I mean, is my bread and butter right now until I can get up there and actually get my line in the water. Breaking down basically just what they were saying earlier about where the fish are going to live, whether it's 25 feet or whether it's coming up shallow because they're staging up for pre-spawn or whatever they're doing. YouTube videos. Like they were saying, Kong's got a lot of good videos, and there's also people that, you know, big bow clear rocket tournaments and stuff like that, that will post videos of how they catch fish, or where they're catching them, or what time of year that they're catching fish. And that's basically how I broke down broken bow, is I just went online and spent God knows how many hours breaking down that water. That's because I knew I wasn't going to be able to fish it very much, and since I can't fish it, the best thing I can do is research. But the YouTube videos, sometimes you can get them around the same time that you're planning on fishing. That way you can kind of understand the type of fishing they're going to be doing, the type of fishing you can be doing at the same time, maybe same baits even. Finding the fish in broken bow. How I found them was local guys. I talked to some local guys. Just they were like, "Hey, what are you up here for?" And I was like, "Oh, we got a tournament, you know, that we're going to be fishing." And he's like, "Oh, cool, yeah, this is what fish relate to." I was like, "Cool, thanks for the knowledge. I didn't even ask, but I appreciate it." But they said, you know, there's grass inside the lake, some type of grass. I'm not exactly sure what it was. Me and Brett were talking about it and thinking maybe it's some coontail grass or something like that. But it's not up on the bank, because the bank is basically all rock. 90% of that lake is like just like quartz rock, really clear rocky banks, everything. So you're not going to catch a whole or see a whole lot of structure like weeds or shrubberies and stuff like that all around the side of the banks. So where I found the fish was on points, in coves, and then I'd go over it with my fish finder and I'd just see grass. I didn't even see fish in the grass. All I saw was grass. And I was like, well, there's grass, let me fish it, see if I can't pull something out of it. And that's where we'll see the next fish. Start off my morning. I caught 2 fish. Probably started catching them right around like probably 7:30-ish when I got my first bite, which is the top fish was like the 15 3/4, or no, 16-inch, barely. Pinched the tail on that one. 16-inch fish. I caught it on just a lucky strike, or no, I mean Lucky Craft lipless crankbait. And that pearl thread from that's the identical one that I was using. I got it in the MTV box one day, and I was like, hey, I like this. Let me throw it on, and it worked. Yeah, I found the grass. I threw my line into it. I let it sink down into the grass, and I just started ripping it through it. You know, started pulling across. I could feel it bumping up against the grass, and that's whenever I would get the strike. And I caught both those fish relatively the same way, within probably 50 yards of each other. A big fish. I'm not a drop shot king by any means. I couldn't say how much I looked across this fish. I was throwing that crankbait all morning till about a couple hours, probably about 9, couldn't even bite. It was ridiculous. And so I threw that drop shot inside of a cove. And it's kind of funny because my bail messed up on me. My line got twisted up because, you know, I hardly ever use it. And I'm sitting there messing with it, trying to get it undone. Finally get it fixed, and I start reeling in, and I'm like, cast it over there, but the line's over there. Set the hook, and it's a 21-inch fish was on there. I mean, and I couldn't say how much I got lucky. You know, I like to say it was skill. I did throw the bait, so it's some type of skill that I didn't like sit there and, oh, there's the fish. I know what fish I'm going to catch, and that's him. And I really got lucky on that, dude. You know, it's a great fish, and it took me for a ride. I think I was using like 8-pound test on a little spinning rod, and dude, the thing took me for a ride, sitting there jumping up and having a blast. These are spotted bass, I believe. These are spots, and they don't like to stay down. These fish over there did not like to stay down at all. Every fish I caught tried throwing my bait, every single one of them. And some of them did later on. If anyone has any questions, please, you can talk at any point in time. I'm not going to save questions till just the end. If you have any questions about anything I was doing, anything I was using. Anything.
You said it was spotted bass, is that what you said?
Yeah, spots.
So when they doing them bass tournaments, you don't have to be a largemouth?
It's a black bass, just a black bass species.
Largemouth, smallmouth.
Yeah. Largemouth, smallmouth, bass. They're all the same bass family. so they're considered a tournament qualification. I've never been to a tournament that doesn't allow all 3 species or however many variants of those species of bass, you know, excluding striped and sand bass and stuff like it. Striped aren't indigenous. They're here, but yeah. But I was using this little bit, this golden tails or golden baits, little paddle tail. It's probably no bigger than 3.5 inches, and it's a little watermelon, red pepper, and black pepper flakes inside of it. Since I caught that fish, I probably ordered about 2-3 more bags of it. And it's a guy in Arkansas, Hanford. He not only makes these small worms, he makes several other baits, but just a guy making small baits and big baits and little small company he has, but he does a really bang up job. If you want to buy them, you can buy them at that H24 Outdoors, or you can get them online, email them or something like that on Facebook. That's how I did it. After those 3 fish, it was hard to find another one. You see, I fished all the way back in the cove, right by the main lodge, the Broken Bow Lodge. That's where I stayed the whole tournament. I mean, I put my boat in, walked up to my cabin or my room that I was staying in, walked back down, got in my kayak, and I never left that whole cove the whole day. Went down on the other side of the cabin. If you guys go there, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's a big cove on the right side of that Broken Bow Lodge, and I caught that little 14.5 inch fish. Now you take a look at it, and you know, Kong was sitting there saying, you know, you don't upload big fish. You know, in the big bass tournaments or the tow fest, you don't upload big fish. But whenever you're sitting there in these tournaments, a 5-fish tournament, you take pictures of every fish. Because this 14.5 inch fish, you wouldn't think anything about it. That's what won me the tournament. You take that 14.5 inches away, I'd have lost. I'd have been down to like 10th place, something like that. So that little bitty fish, because I didn't just unhook it and be like, oh, this stupid little fish. That one won me 5 grand and the big guy. Well, no, just the 5 grand, not the big fish. Kayak. Caught both of these on the shaky head. I found the grass, like I said, but I couldn't. The bite for the lipless crankfish was kind of shut down, and so I threw this shaky head on there because I just didn't know what else to throw. I threw a jig. I love jig fishing. I threw a jig and I drug it, and I swim it. Couldn't do anything. I threw big crankbaits. Couldn't get them to bite. I threw Carolina ray for a little while. Couldn't get anything to bite. So I threw the shaky head onto some grass on this windblown point out in the middle. There's a big island. Not a very big island, but there's a big island out there, and it drops off really quick on one side from probably about 5 foot down to like 30 foot really quick. And so there's some grass out there, so I was just casting out on top of that grass, and they would pick it up, start swimming with it. I don't know where to, but swimming off with it, I'd set the hook and caught that 16.5. And that was my final fish for that day. Also lost a monster on the same bait. It drove me nuts. It was bigger than the 21.5 or 21 incher. It was probably every bit of 23 inches. It would have been my personal best fish. It was probably 6-7 pounds. But he threw my shaky head out of his mouth. That's when I knew I could. That's whenever I knew there was fish in that area. But you know, if you haven't signed up yet, I know it's kind of a big commitment. You know, go out there for a weekend and stuff like that, and you know, it's a little bit more expensive than a lot of the weekend tournaments and stuff, but it's a great time. Get the family out there. I take me and my whole family out there, and if you haven't been in that whole area, it's beautiful. The fishery is great, and just the environment is nice. I've never been to a national park that was that clean and that nice, and trout fishing down there is supposed to be great. I've never done it myself, but I've heard it was great. But you go down to their national park, they have cabins all throughout there as well. But this is the kayak I won for that 21-inch fish, and that's my son. Son's not here. He was left, but that's his kayak basically, and my river kayak. whenever I do river fishing. John will tell you about that here. But that's my river fishing kayak, because I want to take my Hobie down there. You know, and,
How many poles did you take?
7. You talk to pretty much any tournament angler that is, you know, semi-serious about it. Typically 6 or 7 is our standard, is what we're going to take, and it varies between confidence on what they use between spin and bait cast. I personally take 4 bait cast, 3 spin, and I like to have just a couple rods in there, are just ones that I can use for anything. I'll have one dedicated for top water and crankbaits, and then I have 2 for like jerk bait or just really whatever, maybe a finesse worm or something like that. My spinning rods, I always have like a weightless fluke, a Cinco, or some type of worm setup, light worm setup for that. And then usually a jerk bait and a drop shot. No, I mean, that's the way I set up. I'm not, you ask any of the guys I tournament fish with, I'm not shy about telling you exactly what I use, where I was fishing, what I was doing. I don't care. I think it's great. You know, if y'all catch more fish, that's great. Y'all beat me, that's fantastic. I've been beat plenty of times before, and I'll get beat again. It don't bother me. I love fishing, and I love people that enjoy fishing with me. And we have jackpot tournaments on Tuesdays and stuff like that. Tuesdays and Wednesdays we usually have jackpot tournaments, and I'll be out there and come talk and fish with me, and we'll share baits, do whatever, you know, whatever. It's a great time. But sign up, come out there, it'll be a good time. Oh, that's not supposed to be in there. No, there's sites and images that's where I got everything. You know, they have the website, Beaver's Bend, Kayak Classic, and then thanks to Oklahoma Kayak for putting it on, and OKA. That's where all of our tournaments are actually located. You go on there, you can actually, you know, plan out ahead of time where we're going to fish. Ask off for work. That's important. Navionics, H24, and then tackle warehouse. Yeah.
When it comes down to set up, you have to have a smartphone.
On most tournaments, yes, you have to have a smartphone. Last year, I don't know how BBKC is going to be this year. What's the program we're going to be using?
We're using Angler for BBKC. That's what we've been using. If you don't have a smartphone, you can use a manual camera, but there'll be a line's dry time, and then you can take that camera and you have to get in line, and you'll have to manually upload your fish before the weigh-in time.
So I could use my GoPro.
You'll have to ask Jared Young specifically on that.
Because I don't have a smartphone.
If you have a regular camera, I think you can use a GoPro. Ask me afterwards, after when I get back to my computer, and I can look it up for you.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, like a GoPro Hero.
There's also a few walleye in there. Probably don't want to grab them in the mouth. They've got some little teeth that will tear you up, but they're also some good eating. Long-eared sunfish. There's a lot of little sunfish in Illinois and a lot of the creeks around. I think it's the prettiest fish in our area. It looks like something you'd find around the tropical reef or coral reef or something, but they're just right here in our little Ozark streams. There's also a lot of pumpkin seeds, which are about the same, but you'll notice a little white ring around. You'll see that on the long ears, and the pumpkin seeds will be lacking that. They turn really bright in about June. When they start breeding, the males will just light up and become like fluorescent. And you can catch them on little tubes, little popping bugs on top. They'll hit they'll hit the big popper too. You throw a little teeny popper or popper out there, they'll attack it. They don't know the size of the bait they're hitting. They just want to tear something up. We've also got rock bass and warmouth. Rock bass are little pit bulls too. A lot of times you'll think you have a little smallmouth on there. And they like to hang around some deeper pools, usually some big chunk rocks, some of the same similarities, but a little slower current than where you find the smallmouth. And usually if you find one, you find about 8 or 9 more of them. They kind of pod up.
and those can be a lot of fun. You can tell the difference between the two, the warmouth and the rock bass, by the anal spines, which are down here. Like this one has 3. That would be a warmouth, which is a sunfish family. The rock bass will have 5 to 6. All of their sunfish will just have 3 of those. A lot of chubs in there too. This is a red spot chub, and they get these little spikes all over their head. A lot of people think they're some kind of carp or something, but it's just a little creek chub. And in the breeding season, they get those little spikes on their head. They relate to wood like a spotted bass would. They like root balls. If you find a good plunge pool with a root ball, there's usually 4 or 5 of them underneath the root ball just hanging out down there. Throw a cricket or something to them, and they will tear it up. There's a freshwater drum. I think we've all caught drum, but I figured I'd throw that picture in there anyway. And what we're really after, smallmouth, Neosho strain, bass. Smallmouth in the rivers and the creeks around here is really a numbers game. Our native strain only get about 14, 15 inches after 7, 8 years of growth. They're a smaller fish, but you can just catch, on a good day, you'll catch 50 fish. You know, I used to tournament fish, and I'll be out there, and like Con says, you know, you might get 1 bite all day, you fish out there. Well, that just feels like work to me. I get bored. I like to go to the river, I'll take a swim, I'll catch 5 or 6 fish, go for a swim, make down the next hole, catch another 5, 6 fish, and you can catch them back-to-back casts. Me and Scotty or me and Joe will be standing next to each other, we'll both throw them in at the same time, both of us have a fish. You know, they're just stacked up in there, and they love to eat. And they put up a good little fight, especially in the current. When you're fighting them in the current, it feels a lot like you're pulling a 3-pound bass out of the lake. And you have these little fish. And we also have some great Tennessee strain in the Illinois River. They've stocked them in 10-killer, and there are some big fish. You do occasionally get a good trophy-sized bass out of the river. That's one of the big advantages we have with the Illinois River, is we have those big fish. If you go to Missouri or Arkansas, you're probably not going to find something like that in the Buffalo, except unless you get down by the White River, you may pull a good 3-4 pounder out, but it's something unique to our river. It makes it a really good fishery. And there's another huge one. It's our buddy Pano out with one. And they've been moving up. I mean, they stocked them in 10-killer about 20 years ago, and they've been making their way upriver. This one was caught just downstream from Carnes Ford, and it was 18 inches, I think. And I mean, that's clear up by the Arkansas border, so they're in the river all the way out. It's not just down by the lake. And it's another reason they haven't stocked Tennessee strain in Grand, and there's kind of a debate over that with some of the tournament because they want smallmouth in there. But the problem is it'll crowd out, it'll dilute the strain of our native fish. The Neoshos are up in Spring River and a lot of those creeks, and they haven't been able to get them to live in the lakes. They're just a natural creek fish. So they've kind of held off on that. They didn't know as much, I guess, in the 90s when they put them into 10-killer, but it kind of works out for us. We have both the best of both worlds here in Oklahoma. We can catch some really nice ones. They change coloration. They're kind of chameleons. You wouldn't think of it, you think, okay, it's one color fish, like that's what they are, but they'll change in the matter of a day. This fish, we're catching light, the clouds came in, we caught this fish in a shadier pool right downstream from Peavine, and they can be almost black. And you'll turn around and you'll be in a bright sunny hole that same day, and they're almost gold, where there's no shade, just no cover really in some of these holes, and they will brighten right up. They can kind of adapt to whatever environment they're in. The Illinois River, it starts out in Arkansas, and it makes its way over here. I mean, it starts way in kind of Arkansas. It comes over by Silent Springs, by Watts. And we're going to be dealing with the 68 miles or so from the Arkansas border down to 10-killer, which is where we have really good access. There's a lot of public access. There's just about every 6 or 7 miles you'll find a public access point. You do have to have a GRDA float permit, which is $1 a day or $10 a year. It's not a big deal, and that helps them with the campgrounds and stuff. There's a few regulations. Can't have glass on the river, no styrofoam, no gas motors, so bring a kayak, get a kayak. It's a really special place. It's a good idea to take a screenshot of the mileage chart and keep it with you. If you Google Illinois River Floating Guide or Floaters Guide, you'll find the map, you'll find the list of outfitters and the mileage chart. It's good to just take a screenshot of it and keep it on your phone because you probably won't get signal on a lot of the river. If you're wondering, well, how far do we got to go? Well, there's Sparrowhawk. Okay, well, he showed us only a mile down, or you can recognize some of the spots from the mileage chart to kind of help you time your float so you get back in time. Another necessity that you're going to want to have is a good road atlas. The DeLorme Atlas is one I recommend. It's got every back road in the state. You can get them at Come and Go for $20, and it's broken down. And if you want to find like a new spot to fish, a small creek or a little tributary, you can look through there and just kind of explore and see where the roads go across the creek, way back away from the highways and stuff. Explore a few dirt roads, and you can find some great fishing away from the crowds, some unpressured waters, and if you're exploring around out there, you're not really going to get some phones. So you can't rely on your navigation out there. It's really spotty, especially once you get in Arkansas and Missouri. You'll get into some spots in the Ozarks that you won't have phone service at all. Planning your trip. When I'm going fishing, I don't really like to only float about 5 to 6 miles. A lot of guys go, well, we do 10 or 12. You could if you're not fishing. 5 to 6 miles is a good full day. You can get on the water by 9 in the morning. You won't get off till dark if you fish it right, and you're not rushed. If you're, if you pick a long stretch and it goes bad, you might be coming in after dark, and that could get bad, especially in early spring or late fall when it gets cold. So 5 to 6 miles is plenty for a good day of fishing. Arrange your shuttle. Find somebody that goes with you, or you can get on even like Tulsa Kayak's Facebook group and see who else is going to be on the river. That's usually the best way to do it, and shuttle back is free. Some of the outfitters offer it when they're not busy, like on weekdays. Usually you have to have 2 people leave both boats and a person at where you're going to put in, go to the outfitter, and they'll shuttle you back on the bus for like $5. Most of them won't drag your kayak for you or put it on anything. Always check the weather before you go. We had checked on this day, but we just decided to go anyway. There's a little bit of rain. And not just for rain, but you also want to be aware of the wind, because that can make for some tough paddling. A lot of that wind comes right up that river at 15 miles an hour. You can really have a bad day.
Can flash floods also be dangerous in these rivers?
Yeah, that's where you want to check the gauges too. It's really not flash floods, but it can look really nice when you're putting in, and if you poke around, there could be a lot of water upstream that you didn't realize that is coming in. Like there could be a storm in Arkansas. So I recommend is checking the gauges. And the Tahlequah gauge is a good gauge to see how the river is. Around 5 to 7 feet is great on the Tahlequah gauge. But then you've also got the Chewy gauge. You want to see that at about 4 foot. And the Watts gauge, which is clear by the Arkansas border. And that's an important one to check because that water is going to be hitting in the next 24 hours. The night before, I'll often check the Watts gauge and see what's coming down instead of just the Tahlequah gauge. And usually that one's running around 3 to 4 feet or something like that. You can find the good link for the gauges is Trout Unlimited 420. Just go to tu420.com, bookmark that in your phone, and it's got a link of a lot of the area waterways, the Lower Illinois release schedules, Keystone Dam. And it also has links to the gauges and Chewy and Tahlequah, all put together real nice and neat for you.
5 or 6 miles like a one way?
What?
You're 5 or 6 miles one way or round trip?
It's all one way on the river. You put upstream and you float down to where you go.
I'm not a river person.
Just one way, yeah.
I was saying that'd be a real young man.
Yeah, going back upstream is pretty hard because you're just floating down. It's really easy floating. You don't have to do a lot of paddling. You just kind of relax and let the current carry you. There's a lot of rafters out there too. A lot of party crowd. I mean, you might have to, it's best on a weekday if you really want to concentrate on fishing. I usually have to work all week, so I end up out there on the weekends with all the partiers dodging around some rafts. But it's not too bad. It's girls in bikinis and they throw you a beer every once in a while. And in the late afternoon, once that alcohol starts kicking in, it's a little entertaining. It's kind of like the Jerry Springer show for free, like being in the audience. Just paddle fights and guys leaving their boat, they're divorcing their wife and walking back to the car, and but it's pretty fun out there. But they are cutting back on that. GRDA has added a lot of police along the river. No alcohol over 3.2. Don't bring your glass. Don't go out there to party. You can bring a few beers, but they'll be in the bushes watching people come down the river. They have 3 or 4 of them with binoculars, just watching groups come down, see who's got the glass, and then pull you over there. They've really added a lot of law enforcement. I think it's going to crack down on some of the party atmosphere and hopefully become a little better fishery.
Watch your language too.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah, they don't make you cuss and have roll. We always get along with them, so
All I'm saying is, if they hear you being abusive, they will get you.
Yeah. If you're drunk, it's like, what do you? I saw one guy out there. They were taking in his friend. He's like, "What are you gonna do? Arrest me for being drunk on the river?" And I'm like, "That's public intox. They can do that." Fully within their right, dude. So, trip essentials. Appropriate clothing. I usually just wear swim shorts or a light pair of shorts. Long sleeve shirt's better, even though I'm not wearing one of this one. Long sleeve sunblocking shirt, maybe a buff over your head, kind of cover your neck. Big straw hat's great. It keeps you cool. It's hard to get too hot out there. You'll start sweating after 20 minutes of fishing, but there's always somewhere to jump in. The river's great for swimming, so fish a hole, catch 5 or 6 fish. Take it easy and go for a swim. You know, it's sometimes it's more about just being out there and having a little fun than catching fish, though you will catch a lot of fish. Sunglasses are a must. Your eyes will be fried after a day on the river without them. And they also provide protection against hooks. You know? Helps you see under the water, bring some sunglasses. Bring a dry bag, keep some stuff dry. If you want anything dry, it needs to be in a dry bag, because there's always a chance for flipping. I don't care how experienced you are, it still happens. You will hit a little bump that's just under the water you didn't see, and next thing you know, you're in the water. Mesh litter sack's always a great idea. Help pick up after some of that river crowd that's out there, and just keep it clean. Yeah, that happens to be a lot. I think that one was 1819, but no one will believe me now.
What do you use for footwear?
Great question. An old pair of tennis shoes is fine. No flip-flops, no open toes. There's a lot of sharp rocks, and they're gonna fall for your feet. I like to wear my fly fishing wading boots with some Sims wading socks. They have like a built-in gravel guard. It's like a real long sock that folds down over the top of the boots and runs up here, and it keeps the gravel out of your shoes. Old tennis shoes, you're gonna be getting gravel in your shoes all the time and dumping them out. They work. You know, a whole pair of tennis shoes works just fine. But a good wading boot, if you're out there a lot, you don't have to worry about kicking around rocks. You can swim in them, you're not dealing with gravel all day. Though they don't smell the best in the car on the way home. So, as far as equipment, I go with a spinning rod, with a medium light rod. To medium is usually plenty out there. A lot of the stuff you're going to be throwing is a 1/4 ounce to 3/8 ounce. It's a lot different than what Kong does. We throw a lot of little baits, catch a lot of little fish, and that little stuff will also get the big fish out there. Especially, we'll get in that with craws and stuff. I go 15-pound braid, which is probably overkill, but it still casts a mile, especially on the river where you're just casting 40 feet, maybe 50 feet. A lot of it's short casts. I use an 8 to 12 foot leader, and I'm just a mono guy. It doesn't fray as much on the rocks, and it floats. So if you want to throw your popper on or your buzzbait, it's versatile, and I really don't have any problem. If you're running 10 to 12 pound line out there, your money, you can pull a drum in with it. Simple Palomar knot. If you like to fly fish, it's a great spot for it too. On the weekdays especially. It's kind of a little trickier with the rafters, but fly fishing can be a lot of fun. A 6 weight is usually what I use. You could go up to a 7 weight or even an 8 weight, but that seems a little bit like overkill to me. I like to bring a fly reel that has an extra spool, so I can bring a floating line as well as like a 12-foot sink tip line. If I want to get a streamer down heavy current, I'll put a sink tip on there, so I don't have to throw big heavy flies. And a little bit of 10-pound leader and tip it. Sling packs are great on the river. A lot of the bass fishermen, you see them carrying around huge crates with 8 rods, and you've got just tons of boxes and plastic. You really don't need all that on the river. A simple dual-sided Plano box and a sling pack's the best way to go. A lot of the time when you're fishing, you're not going to be fishing from your boat anyway. You're going to pull up on a spot, you're going to grab your sling pack, throw it on your one pole, and go work it as you wade, you know, go upstream a little bit and work on that. A lot of it's from the shore when you would get to a good hole. You want to keep a good pair of Hema cuts, like a hemostat. I like the Hema cuts because you can cut your braid with them too. They have a little scissor built into them. It's a great tool to have on there. Keep it clipped onto your lanyard with a pair of nippers, and you've got all the tools you need. Keep your leaders and tippet in there. A small thing of sunblock. A great big bottles, you know, good for the boat. But you'll get out of the boat and you won't realize you're going to feel a little burnt. Just keep it with you, you know. Put it on anytime you start feeling a little warm. Chapstick's always a good idea. I keep a little bottle of plastic dye in there. Little chartreuse to just put on the tips of my Senkos and craws and stuff. It really seems to help out. Real oil's a real good idea to bring. You might not bring that to lake. A lot of times at the river, you're going to drop your pole into the gravel and the water, and it's going to mess with it a little bit. It's good to have a little oil to just squeeze in there and get it moving smoothly again. Bring your license. The game wardens are out there quite a bit. Make sure you have a license and put that money into conservation for all of us. Small measuring tape and your tackle. You got everything you need with you. And when you get in the boat, you can usually just mine unhooks and you can just clip it around a thwart or something. So if you flip, your stuff doesn't go everywhere. It's tied into the boat pretty well. As far as tackle, the classics, curly tails and fat Alberts are real good to have on hand. Just a little smaller. You can find some crappie jigs with a wider gap. They work real good with a good curly tail or fat Albert. I like the red ones with just a watermelon curly tail. Because a lot of the fish have red eyes out there. I don't know why it works. But those you just swing in the current, let them, work them back upstream. It looks like a little bait fish to them, and they'll chase it down from 15, 20 feet away. Tube jigs are really versatile. You can swim them, you can hop them like a crawl. You can use them as a small jig. I mean, they're about the perfect smallmouth bait. I use the little slip-in baits with a 30-degree eye, nice wide gap hook. The ones I like are a little smaller than what you'd use on for a bass on a lake. I use the 2 1/4 inch crappie max, watermelon, red seed tubes or whatever, red flake. And with the same with my craws, I downsize them. I'm using, I think, a 2.5 inch craw most of the time. And you would think, well, that's going to get you a small fish. But the bigger fish in there, they kind of prefer the smaller craws. I mean, if you were a fish and you got some big old claws, or do you want to eat something with some tiny claws? They're going to eat a lot of the small ones. They're eating them all day, and you'll get just as many big fish on a small craw. Good hooks are necessary. I use owner hooks. Your sizes are going to be a little smaller than what you use on a lake. I go down to a size 2 a lot of times. Size 1 and 1/0 is probably what I use most of the time. You could probably go up to 2/0, but it seems like overkill. Some worm weights. Like I said, most of the stuff you're going to be throwing is about an 1/8 ounce to a 1/4 ounce, maybe 3/8 ounce. So that's where you want that braid and a light action rod. You can get that little stuff out there. So we got Ned rigs. If you guys haven't fished the Ned rig before, it is about the perfect river bait. You will catch a ton of them. It's a real simple little jig, and it just stands up on the bottom. A little mushroom head jig, a small hook, and the slower you work them, the better. Usually we'll throw them into the head of a pool and just twitch them down and then just let them sit. Twitch it a little bit, let it sit, and it'll stick that plastic up and just wiggle in the current. They do all the work for you. It's idiot proof. They also work really good with the Helgramite pattern. I like to throw one of those on there, just some Bass Pro's Helgramites. It's probably their second, I think it's probably their favorite. These little Helgramites are probably their favorite food ever. They just love them. They probably eat mostly crawdads, but if they see a Helgramite, they're going to eat it. I don't know what it is about them. They're very effective bait. Jigs, 1/4 ounce to 3/8 ounce in natural colors. I don't throw them a lot, but I do keep them in there. They are good around some laydowns. And to use the swim bait, you might put a little curly tail at the back of one. Usually at the slower end of a pool. And topwater, which is my absolute favorite. If they're biting topwater, that's all I'm throwing. I use the 1/8 ounce Booyah buzz baits. They're real tiny, a little smaller than what you usually use, and they work great on the river. And Rebel's teeny poppers. Everything's downsized. Usually I upgrade my hooks and tie I like to put a little bigger hook on the back, maybe like a size 4. Just a big old tail hook, and it'll kind of keep it riding down. As far as throwing them, look for shady areas. They'll bite topwater all day on the river if you can find the right areas. Look for chunk rock, a little bit of grass cover, and some current going by it. Somewhere where there's something going by it, and especially in the shade. Whatever time of the day it is, just look for the shade. If that shade's over the water, throw some topwater to it, they'll hit it. If that sun's right in their eye, usually around noon, if that sun's beating right down, the topwater bite's going to kind of shut down just because they can't see it as well. I think that's what I found. But just natural colors and chartreuse. If you're fly fishing, woolly buggers, I haven't met a fish yet that want to eat a woolly bugger. Just a great little bait fish imitation, or I'm not even sure what they look like, but they love them. Just pushes a little bit of water and gets them interested. I like to use dumbbell eyes on a lot of my flies for the river, just because it'll keep the hook point is up top, and that'll keep it kind of down, so you can bounce it on the rocks like a craw, and it'll keep it from snagging up a lot of times if you're working the bottom of it. Clouser minnows are really effective. There's a reason they're on every must-have fly fishing list. They're a simple pattern. They take about a minute and a half to tie. It's just some bucktail and some thread and some lead eyes. And you can match the colors, like for a cardinal shiner. I don't know why purple works, but it does, so I like to throw a lot of purple. Orange is good color, red is good color. Just straight white, maybe white with a little chartreuse. You can vary it up, just see what they like that day. And they're real easy to fish. You can usually throw it kind of across the river from you, and then let it, you know, kind of swing the current will kind of swing your fly line, and then strip it back a little bit. See if you can get them to chase it. Muddler minnows, I like to keep one in the box. I don't fish them a whole lot, but they're versatile. You can use them as a hopper imitation or as a streamer if you tie them big enough. They'll float for a minute, then you can pull them underwater and work them like a minnow. And you can also tie a piece of fishing line on, maybe about 18 inches of fishing line under it, put a little small nip or something on it, and use it as a hopper dropper for sunfish. Stuff like that if you want to target some different species. Craw patterns, of course. You gotta have a few craw patterns in the box. And of course topwater. You just can't beat topwater strikes. Been using the surface, Scotty turned me on these surface seducer poppers, and I'm in love. They throw water like a rebel popper. They just spit water, you barely twitch the line. And I like chartreuse. I don't know why they like chartreuse. It doesn't make any sense to me why they eat chartreuse, but they do. Keep some chartreuse in your box for smallmouth. All right, let's get on to reading the river. To read the river, you got to kind of understand the terminology. What you're talking about is you got your riprap banks. The deep side is always going to be the outside bend. This is usually walkable. It'll usually be sandy, and your deep holes will be on that outside bend. And then riffles is where it gets really, really shallow. It'll just be barely riffling over the rock, and then it'll drop into a deep hole. And those are your best bets. Right after the riffle, when it drops into a deep hole, you'll usually find a few stacked right up under it. And of course, feeder streams, anywhere there's a stream coming in, there's usually some bait fish, a change in temperature. It's always worth throwing a bait at. And eddies, any break in the current or a little seam, you want to check it out. Sometimes they'll hang out right there by the current just waiting for something to come down, and that's slack water. So you want to throw it to a lot of those areas. Your ideal spots are the plunge pools right after riffles. That's what you're really looking for. You want to see some big chunk rock in the water, not just gravel and flat. You want to see some basketball-sized rock, some terrain under there, something that they can relate to, hide behind rocks. That's what you're looking for. But a lot of the water you're going to skip over. When you're on the river, you're going to want to maximize your time. 90% of the fish are in 10% of that river out there. You'll go through a lot of long, slow, just current's barely moving. It's all about a foot deep. You'll see a lot of big buffalo. Everybody's like, oh, there's huge fish in there. So smallmouth buffalo. There's just not many smallmouth in that area. And it'll be long stretches, a good quarter, half mile. Best thing to do is just paddle through it. Look for the pools right after riffles and those good runs where there's a lot of current going through it. Focus your time on there. Spend 30 minutes with that, 40 minutes, and then just bomb on down to the next one. Bird Dog's showing us how it's done. And you're coming up, you're looking for the deeper water. Look for that darker colors, and you'll get kind of turquoise. You can see those deep holes. When you spot a hole, you can see one up ahead, like, okay, this is going to get productive. It looks like it's real deep in there. There's a lot of current moving through it. You want to approach it cautiously. When you start seeing that, come to the inside bend. Start taking your boat over to this gravel over here in the shallows. Park before it, and then approach it from foot. Go back upstream. I usually start out with a Ned rig. I'll come out stream and throw upstream and let it bounce down. Throw your bait upstream, let it sink to the bottom, just on slack, and then just kind of twitch it with the current. And let it flow naturally along those rocks, just bouncing around, and you'll feel them hit it. You can also do that with like half a stick-o, just Texas rig. It's pretty much the same thing as a Ned rig. Watermelon or pumpkin seed is going to be your best bet. Every once in a while, I like to put a little tip of chartreuse on the tip of them. Usually on my stick baits, I'll go 3-4 inches. I'll buy the 6-inch ones and then just cut them in half and use about 3.5 inches of them. Then you work the middle of the pool. You're going to find a lot of fish in the middle of the pool. It's going to be a productive area. It's a great place for those curly tail grubs. You can throw across it, let it swing through there, or you can work the Ned rig. If the Ned rig's working, stick with it. If that Texas rig plastic works at the head of the pool, go ahead and use that in the middle of the pool. Just throw it upstream, let it bounce down naturally, and watch that line. Check it every once in a while. With the curly tails, you're going to want to experiment with your retrieve. Sometimes they like it real fast, sometimes they like it a little jerky, sometimes they like it slow. It just kind of depends on the day. So play around with it, find what they like, and once you're getting bites, stick with it. The tail end of the pool, it's starting to slow down a bit. As it slows down, usually some bigger fish will hang at the back of the pool. You'll have a lot of small fish up at the front. The bigger fish, especially in the late afternoon, will move to that back of the pool. It's a great place to throw a jig, hitting by the rocks or hitting by the bait, just popping it off by the edge of the water. Or especially with all this shade, I would probably throw some topwater. And when I'm throwing topwater on the river, I'm pretty much setting it right on the edge of the opposite bank, on the shoreline, and then popping it off. You get most of your hits that first 1 or 2 feet. As soon as it comes off that shore and it makes a little move, they'll come out of anywhere they're at and smack it hard. Just be mindful while you're out there and take the time to enjoy it. Like Henry David Thoreau said, many men go fishing their whole lives without knowing stop the fish they're after. You get a lot more from fishing than just catching the fish. I used to do tournaments a lot, and it just got to the point where it felt like work. I'm out there just grinding it out. Got to catch this fish, got to make this money. I'm throwing, I'm working. And at one point it just clicked. I'm like, man, I'm hot. Why don't I just go for a swim, Why don't you just have a little fun on the water? And that's really important. Bring a friend with you. Have someone out there to share your times with. And you need someone to work the camera. My friend Bird Dog, Robin likes to go too, but I make sure to bring Bird Dog every time. Just take it all.